Excellent. And we are recording. So welcome everybody to this week's Q&A. Welcome to everybody listening to the recording or watching the recording. Good to see you all this week. We have some really great questions here. I'm just scanning through them quickly in the app. Don't forget, for those of you who are watching, if you want to ask questions for this week's Q&A, you click on the top left tab in the app, and it's the one up here in the corner. It normally says general, but if you click on it, then it will give you this little menu, and there's a forum in there to ask Dr. Rachel questions. She is our resident menopause gynecologic surgeon, so you can ask her questions in there. And of course, if you want to ask me a question, there is a forum in there called Ask Him Constable, and that is where I take the questions from. But I can take them as well from the chat if you guys have questions, so please feel free to drop them in there. All righty. I'm assuming that the questions from 7 days ago have been answered. So I'm going to jump into the ones that have been uploaded from yesterday. And Marie O'Neill has the first question. Hello, gorgeous Marie. And she says, this is a bit of an intimate question. Ooh, I like a little intimate question, Marie. You come to the right place. I hope I don't offend anyone, but how does one prevent getting hemorrhoids when doing heavy weighted squats, etc.? Oh, Marie, there she is. She says, I'm just joining on my tea break, 15 minutes. Well, I'm glad that you're here. You got in first. Okay, let's talk hemorrhoids, Marie. This is not an intimate question. This is something that I discuss in everyday life with anyone who will listen. I'm very happy to discuss my hemorrhoids. So I have been plagued with hemorrhoids since I had my kids. Actually, I think it's a very common thing that happens after having babies. I think they're actually caused by hormones. And I had a new one appear recently. Like, I was like, oh, great. Like, another one's come to join the party. And it's funny, mine flare up depending on where I am in my cycle. Now, I don't always have a period anymore. I think I'm like 38 days since my last one now. God knows when it's going to come. It's showing no signs of coming, which is amazing. And the one that I had before this one was actually literally it was just like, I think it was there and it was gone. So I'm hoping that this might be like the end of my menstrual cycle now, which would be amazing. So anyway, I find that hemorrhoids for me, anyway, I can only speak for personal experience. I am not a hemorrhoid expert by any means, but what I have found with hemorrhoids is that they flare up at different times of the month. So I will find that if I'm ever kind of mid-cycle and my body's like trying to spit out an egg, it's like, no, we can still ovulate. We can do this, girls. Let's go. If that's ever happening, then that's when I would have a herpes flare-up or a hemorrhoids flare-up. It's always to do with changes in hormones. I also find, because I track everything on my Oura ring, it tracks my temperature, and I find that I get a big temperature spike. It's as my temperature starts to spike in the app, I get a temperature spike and then it goes down if I'm ever ovulating. And so that is when I'm going to have them as well. So I think you just have to be conscious of when you would be more prone to them. I know I'm more prone to them just before I would get a period and mid-month whenever my body's trying to ovulate. And I will just be very conscious of them then. Now, what can you do to stop them from doing heavy weighted squats? I mean, I guess the only thing that I could say, if I'm trying it on what it is that I do, I make sure I turn on my transverse abdominis every single time I'm doing weighted squats. And I guess you have to program yourself to do this. So I make sure that I keep my pelvic floor pulled up and my navel pulled towards my spine in all squats. I was squatting last night in the gym. Oh, my legs are so sore. I have not trained in the gym for so long. But because I'm not recording this week, I said to my son, I was like, let's train legs. I'm going to go to the gym and train legs. He said, I'll come with you. So we were doing hack squats in my gym at home. And it's funny, I realized like whenever I go down to the bottom of the hack squat, like I never bounce, I go down with loads of control and then I, come up with loads of control. But I noticed whenever Corey got on to do his one, he kind of dropped quite quickly and then kind of caught it at the bottom and then pushed up. And I said to him, no, control it at the bottom. And I said, when you go down to the bottom, squeeze your glutes. And he was like, what? And I said, keep them turned on the whole way down. Keep your leg turned on, your hamstrings turned on, your quads turned on, keep your glutes turned on. But when you hit the bottom of the squat, I want you to actually, in your mind, I want you to bring your focus to your glutes. I want you to turn them on and I want you to use your glutes to power yourself back up. And it was incredible how that one little tweak just changed his squat. Whenever he went down to the bottom of the hack squat, he actually slowed it down. You could see him mentally switching on his glutes and then he powered back up. So whenever you do that in a squat, you generally find that you won't push out through your bottom, I guess. you don't, you're not going to aggravate any kind of, hemorrhoids that you would have because you're truly using your glutes to push. So I think it's something that we should all be doing in a squat. It's very hard to keep your transverse abdominis turned on the whole time. One of the things I always teach, and I'm speaking fast, Marie, because I know that you're only here for a short period of time, but one of the things I always teach in my yoga classes, and I haven't taught it for a while in boot camp, but I probably should. I think someone mentioned it the other day. They're like, Kim, you should tell them about your smoothie straw. And so I always teach, for those of you who haven't heard me teach it, I did a whole podcast on it actually, and a girl messaged me once and said that she fell off the treadmill laughing in the gym listening to the podcast episode. So it's called How Squatting Can Prevent Back Pain. So if you go into the Kim Constable podcast or just Google Kim Constable's podcast Squatting Back Pain, the episode will come up, and it really is quite funny. But what I learned from another yoga teacher whenever I was teaching yoga was, in order to turn on your transverse abdominis, you want to imagine that you are sucking a smoothie through a straw using your vagina. And whenever I teach that, everybody goes, and you can see all the women like energetically doing it. Everyone's sitting there like sucking imaginary smoothies through a straw. So that is the best way that I can teach you to turn on your transverse abdominis. So you imagine you're sucking a smoothie through a straw, like a really thick smoothie through a big straw. You're sucking that up. And then whenever that's sucked up, you draw your navel to your spine. So if everybody does it now, if everybody imagine you're sucking up on a smoothie and that smoothie's really thick and you have to suck really hard. And then when you've sucked as hard as you can, draw your navel to your spine. That's your whole transverse abdominis turned on. Now, what is your transverse abdominis? It's the band of muscles, the internal band of muscles that wraps around your body that keeps everything tight. So it's like a sling that goes around the internal muscles, if you like, or the trunk muscles. Your rectus abdominis are the muscles down the front. They're the ones that look good. They give you a six pack, but really they are of zero benefit. They literally just move your rib cage. They don't provide any strength really to your trunk. All of your strength comes from your transverse abdominis. And if you can learn to activate and turn on your transverse abdominis, what you will find is you will use a lot more muscle and a lot less push. Because I find that when people go down to the bottom of a squat, what happens is they bear down as if like they're giving birth, as if they're trying to push a baby out. So they bear down and they push at the bottom. But all that does is push into, the hemorrhoid region, which you absolutely do not want to do. You want to get to the bottom and you want to imagine that the best way I can describe it is think about the insertion point of your hamstring into your glute muscle. You can even kind of feel for it now. Like it's that little dip, right? It's the dip just to the inside of where your hamstring would connect to your glutes. I want you to, whenever you go to the bottom of a squat, I want you to bring your attention to that area and I want you to turn it on. I want you to tighten it, right? And use that area to push. And if you do that, it's amazing how much your glutes will grow and how much more you will activate your glutes because of the action. And it will stop you from bearing down. It's the bearing down in a squat that causes you to push out and causes, your hemorrhoids to be aggravated. But if you really focus on your glutes, really focus on that area of your glutes, I promise you, not only will it change your squat, but it'll completely stop any flare up of hemorrhoids. But also make sure that you know where you are in your cycle. If you're still having a cycle, Marie, I'm not sure if you're what age you are, but if you're having hormonal fluctuations in any way, then just be conscious of where you would be in your cycle or where you might be in your hormonal cycle, because that could aggravate it as well. And just as a little side note, I haven't trained in the gym since oh God, I can't even remember. April, maybe, was maybe the last time I was in the gym, or May. I mean, a long time ago. And it was incredible how much stronger I was in my lifts last night. Like in my hack squat, especially, like I didn't even go that heavy because I didn't want to go super heavy because I didn't want to be really, really sore. But I just noticed how much more control I had, how much stronger I was, in my quads, how much stronger my entire body felt from doing the dumbbell workouts consistently, but also from doing boot camp. Because the dumbbell workouts that I've been doing recently, they strengthen all of your supporting muscles. So you're not just strengthening the muscles that you're working through doing a lot of machine work, you're strengthening all your supporting muscles. And I have noticed that my imbalances in my body have been corrected. I used to have like a high left shoulder because, I was much stronger on the right-hand side of my trunk. But now I have noticed that my left shoulder has naturally dropped and it's not, up like this anymore. all my imbalances in my body have actually completely gone since doing the dumbbell workouts, which has been astonishing to me. Like I couldn't even have imagined that would have been the case, that would have happened. But I did notice from strengthening my glutes the way I've been strengthening them with butt camp, like everything is stronger. The women in butt camp have been saying that they've been suffering from back pain for a long time. Some have sciatica, some have different issues. And consistently we're getting reports in the Facebook group where the women are saying, this is astonishing. I haven't had any back pain in weeks from doing the butt camp workouts. And it's one thing I always teach is that strengthen your glutes and your back pain will be completely eradicated, because quite often your back picks up the work of your glutes. Your glutes are the powerhouse of your body, right? They are the thing that should be firing when you bend down, when you bend over, when you pick something up. And they're just not firing for many of us because we're just not strengthening them enough. So not only is my butt nice and peachy now, like I was just in the supermarket with my son. It's his birthday today. And I was walking through the supermarket and I'm wearing like these leggings, these workout leggings. And I was like, I could feel my butt filling the leggings. That's the only way I can describe it. Like everything just feels fuller and peachier and stronger. My body feels stronger. I cannot even explain it to you. But I'm absolutely delighted. Butt camp's going to be in the app very soon, I think. I think the team, we're starting to add it in now. So you guys are going to have access to it, which is going to be great. And then we're also going to be launching Buns and Guns. We're going to do a 4-week Buns and Guns challenge, which is going to be your next cash challenge in the app. And it's going to start in middle of November. So we're starting to upload everything now, get everything sorted. I'm going to start recording the workouts next week, all brand new workouts for it as well. So it's going to be really fun and a really good cash challenge as well. And we're going to make it available for people to purchase outside the app too, if they want to, because people were complaining that a lot of my community are not menopausal and they want stuff that isn't in the app. So I'm going to make it available in a different format for them outside the app too. So just a little bit of housekeeping for you to keep you up to date. Okay. Thank you so much, Marie. That was a great question. Okay. Laurie has the next question. Lovely, Laurie. Week 5 of butt camp and the magic has started happening. I know, Laurie, I saw your pictures. They're absolutely amazing. The problem is the fat cells are shrinking faster than the skin on my abs and quads. Yeah, this happens. I love seeing my body change, but this loose skin, it's not pretty. I'm doing the butt camp follow along cardio and then butt camp strength. FB and then 1 hour of SSC. If I repeat this, then I repeat this same regimen in the afternoon. Okay, Laura, I don't think you have a question. There's no question there, is there? It was just, you're just telling me that you're stronger. And okay, I love that. That's great. Yeah, it's the magic is happening. The loose skin is something you're going to have to put up with until it goes. What I find with loose skin is it's one of my biggest questions I get asked on social media, in the groups. People say, what do you do with loose skin? What I have found is that if you train consistently and you keep the weight off, the loose skin does go. It's just like, imagine if you were pregnant for 10 years and then you stopped being pregnant, the skin in your stomach would be super stretched because it would be stretched more than it would be not stretched. It's kind of the same way. Unfortunately, skin does stretch. And then as we get older, it loses its elasticity. But you do still have collagen. You do still produce collagen. You do still have elasticity in your skin. So even if you're in your 50s and 60s, your skin will bounce back as long as you keep the weight off. That is the most important part. You can't put weight on and drop it and put it on and drop it and expect the skin to bounce back. It won't. In order to get your skin to not be loose and stretched, you have to stay thin, right? You have to keep the weight off. That's the only way that it will bounce back. And it will bounce back. It just takes time, unfortunately. Like everything in the body, it takes time. Loose skin doesn't just, it's just like after you have a baby. Once you've had a baby, the skin in your stomach does not go back like that, right? It took mine years to go back after having my kids. And it is now flat. And now I don't ever do a plank. I don't look down if you do a plank. That's always my people say, do you not have loose skin? I'm like, yes, I do. Like, what do you do when you do a plank? I'm like, I don't look down when I do a plank. Like, I just keep my leggings pulled right up under, hoik them up here under my boobs. Do not look down. That is what I would say. So, but loose skin will bounce back, so I wouldn't worry too much. Laurie also says, I have been training 7 days a week before starting butt camp. Now I have to take a day off as I'm demanding a lot from my body. Yes, that is true. Week 5, day 3 was nothing short of hell. Yet I got up the next day and I still completed all my sessions. Week 6, day 1, it was like I hit a brick wall. No rhyme or reason, just hit very differently. Is this something you've experienced when preparing for a show? And if so, what's your MO? No, I haven't missed anything in light of how I was feeling. Yeah, look, the thing is, we're not machines. This is one thing you have to remember. We're not machines. At some point, we're going to hit a brick wall. You know, we hit a brick wall. We get pissed off. We get upset. We get emotional. We get, you know, this is your body pushing back. This is your body saying, okay, you're really demanding a lot of us. And whenever you're pushing for a show or you're pushing for a goal or you're pushing for a competition, you have to keep going. Now, is it detrimental to keep going? No, not at all. It's just that your body's saying we're nearing the end of our capacity and we need to rest. But what happens is, and I know this isn't you, Laurie, but what happens is a lot of women, whenever they hit that brick wall, it triggers a panic button in them and they think that there's something wrong. And one of the things one of my mentors said to me years ago was, she said, I was like, oh, but I'm so tired. I was like, I was almost panicking because I can't remember what was going on. There was something going on in the company. And I was like, but I'm just so tired. She was like, yeah, but then, you know, but you're going to sleep tonight. And I said, yeah, I know. And she was like, and then you won't be tired after you've rested. I was like, oh, yes, of course. She said, you're tired now, but once you sleep, then you won't be tired anymore. And she said, so how you're feeling now is not how you're going to feel forever. And it was a real epiphany moment for me because I think that how we tend to exacerbate how we're feeling now and make it into something that is it's going to last forever in a way. Like it's almost like it triggers us. It triggers our fight or flight. It triggers like a panic mode. And we're like, oh my God, but I'm so tired. And like, or I've hit a wall. And then we think, oh my God, this means that there's something wrong. Because quite often whenever we feel that way, it means in the past, it's meant that we're ill or we're going to get a flu or we have a virus or there's something wrong. And so whenever we feel that way, it automatically triggers us to make us feel that there's something bad is going to happen or something bad is happening, you know? And quite often it's not. It's just that you've hit a point where you've pushed your body excessively and now your body's saying it's time to rest. So if you're on a rest day, you take a rest. And if you're not on a rest day, you get up and you keep going and you do it tired. And you keep going until you're on a rest day. And then you take your rest day. And on that day, you relax, you recharge, you sleep as much as you can. You don't use it to run around and do crazy stuff. You do your meal prep or whatever you need to do. And then you do as little as you possibly can so that you can recharge. And quite often then when you've had a day or 2 days, sometimes it requires more than that, but then you rest, you know? And whenever I'm having these really, really busy, insanely busy periods in the company where I am just running on adrenaline, I'm go, 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 I haven't stopped, I'm recording loads of workouts, I'm pushing my body to the max. Sometimes I say to my husband, I just can't go on. This is insane. Like the pace that I'm going at is like it's not sustainable. And it even sometimes, you know, triggers me a bit. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just not sustainable. And he goes, Kim, this is not sustainable, but this is just a period of time. The launch ends on the 15th. And after the 15th, you'll get to rest. And I go, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Thank you for the reminder. And so I have to remind myself that this is not forever. This is just for now, but it's not forever. It's only for the next couple of weeks. And after the next couple of weeks, then I rest. And that's why I went away on vacation last week, because I've literally been on the go since March. I haven't stopped, haven't taken a vacation, haven't had a recording break, haven't had a training break. It's been crazy doing launches and making changes in the company. And I really had reached a point where mentally I was fatigued. I was checked out. I was running on adrenaline. I wasn't checked out, but I was just, every day was a struggle. And I went away to France. I did nothing but sleep. Like I slept 10 hours every night. I napped on the beach during the day. I slept, I drank, I ate heaps of food. I spent loads of time with my family and I came back super refreshed. And even Natasha said to me yesterday, she messaged me last night, she said, it's so lovely to have you back refreshed and ready to go. Like my to-do list is like look at my to-do list. Like I wrote this yesterday and like, look at all the things that are scratched off on it now. So I just whizzed through my to-do list yesterday because I had spent 5 days doing nothing. So you have to remember, sometimes whenever you come through a really intense period of work, it's imperative that you rest. You must rest. And if you give yourself that period of rest, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever you can afford, if you give yourself that period of rest, you come back stronger, and then you can go back into another 8 week, 10 week, 12 week, whatever period of intense work again before you need to rest. The work periods are much longer than the rest periods, but if you give yourself that period of intense rest, then it does you the world of good. That's why I used to go away on so many vacations. People used to think, I was like this rich bitch who just went away on all these vacations. And I did have some very nice vacations whenever I was rich. But mostly it was at the end of a launch period when my body needed the rest. My mind needed the rest. I was mentally and physically fatigued. So just remember that nothing is forever, and this too shall pass. And you hit a wall, you realize, oh wow, I've hit a wall. I'm not superhuman. I'm a human being after all. You take that rest, and then you pick yourself up and you get going again. Love it. Okay, Carolyn Biega. Hi, Kim. Thanks again for this wonderful community. I've been here since Sculpt in June, and I love it. Carolyn, I love that you stayed after Sculpt. I have reached my weight goal. Woohoo! She says, I've lost 30 pounds. Carolyn, that is insane. I am so proud of you. She says, I'm super happy and proud. Anyway, it looks like all the weight has come off from the belly button up, while the belly button down is giving me the middle finger. Yeah, I hear you. My new goal is to build muscle and lose fat in the lower half. That being said, I've always had cankles from as young as I can recall. I know there isn't a way to spot reduce fat. However, what are the best exercises to torch those calves? People always say this to me, and they're like, I know there's no way you can spot reduce fat, but how can I get the fat away from my belly? You can't, unfortunately. Well, I hear what you're saying, so I'll give you my best answer. So although you've said that you've reached your goal weight and you're 30 pounds down, this is why I always say it's so important to not have a goal weight. It's so important to have a goal physique, because your goal weight means nothing, right? If you are like, oh my God, I've reached my goal weight, I'm now 140 pounds. And you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, but I still have fat in my legs. I'm still not happy with my glutes. I'm still not happy. But, then it doesn't matter what weight you are. You still haven't reached your goal physique. So I always say to people, don't have a goal weight. I think women especially are obsessed with having a goal weight. More so Americans, I found, than Europeans. That is one thing I found consistently, just as a side note. Women in the UK and women in Europe we're not as focused on the scale. I don't know what it is about American culture. It's probably just a cultural thing that you've learned from the women have learned from women who've come before them. But certainly in Europe, the scale is not a big a thing, I don't think. And I could be completely wrong. Maybe I'm just not filtering for it. But anyway, you want to have a goal physique. What can you do to get the weight off your lower half? Well, usually it's just time. And I know that's a horrible answer. And you're like, oh God, give me another answer other than time, Kim. Seriously. But it really is time and patience. And I'll give you a story from my own experience. Whenever I first started training for a bodybuilding competition, I am a natural pear shape. I've always held my weight in the lower half of my body. When I put on body fat, it goes on my thighs, my butt, and my hips, right? And that's it. I can be shredded around the shoulders and the chest and the back, and I will have from the knees up to my belly button. That's where my body stores all its fat. And whenever I did my first show, I had dieted and dieted and dieted super hard, and I was really happy with my back. It was completely shredded, but my stomach wasn't completely shredded, and my glutes and certainly my hamstrings and my quads were not completely shredded. And I could not get lines in my quads no matter what I did. And I was really very lean. And I was disappointed. So I decided that I would focus really heavily on quads for my show the following year. So I focused really heavily on quads, really heavily on glutes, but not as actually the glute workouts I was doing were not as effective as butt camp. Like I was not training them, 3 to 5 days a week, which is really what is needed. A minimum of 3 days is what is needed. And that's what's going to be in butt camp. And so I wasn't training them as effectively or as often, but I did train my quads very, very, very heavily. When I stood on stage again the next year, like my upper body was so shredded. I had veins on my abs. My back was shredded beyond belief. My shoulders were striated. I had like veins running down my ribs, but I did not have lines in my legs. Like I didn't. And it was really frustrating for me because I was like, what do I have to do to bring in these quads? I went training with Mark Getty and I did my next show the next year, and my quads were massive. They had built so much muscle. But again, I did not have lines on them. I did not have these really shredded quads. And I wish that I had pulled up some videos or could show you some videos. But the interesting thing that has happened now, and I'm 9 years down the line in my bodybuilding journey, is now my quads are shredded. Now, only now, my quads are shredded. I now have lines in my quads, and my quads actually aren't as big now as they were whenever I was training with Mark. They're not as big now as when I was competing in 2019, 2020. They're nowhere near as big because I've been doing mostly dumbbell workouts, and I have changed my physique on purpose. I don't have the same chest muscle that I used to have. I still have a good back, but I don't have the same muscle in my trunk and in my back. I'm not as thick as I used to be. Definitely my quads are nowhere near the size that they used to be. They're still good, but they're nowhere near the size. So I have less muscle. You would think that, you'd say, well, Kim, you've built a lot more muscle. Well, I actually haven't built a lot more muscle on my quads from when I stood on stage in 2019, but yet my quads are more shredded. How come? Well, it's really just body fat. At the minute, I am super lean. As many of you know as well, I've been on the GLP-1s now since May this year. But even before I started the GLP-1s, my legs, I did a photo shoot in April, sorry, and I had quads in April before I started them. I think microdosing GLP-1s, now that I think about it though, because of how they help your body to process insulin better, that is definitely something that could have helped to bring out my quads more, because my body is now processing insulin. My hormones are much more regulated. Also, I've been on HRT now for many years. And so if you're not on HRT, what your body does is it tries to store excess body fat in the metabolically active fat stores, which are situated in your stomach, your belly, your thighs, and your butt. And so because I'm on HRT, I'm on testosterone, and I'm microdosing GLP-1s, my hormones are so balanced. And I know this because I sleep like a baby. I don't pee during the night anymore. I don't sleep. I don't wake up during the night. I don't have pain in my hip anymore. I feel completely clear headed, energetic. Like I feel better than I have felt in as long as I can remember. And definitely this last 6 months since I started, and I'm only just realizing the connection now, this last 6 months, my quads are now shredded. Like I took a video the other day, I just set my phone down, took a video of me getting dressed, I think it was. And I was like, look at the lines in my quads. I couldn't believe it whenever I watched the video back. I couldn't believe how much my quads were popping. So what is the answer that I'm trying to tell you? Low body fat, unfortunately. Women ask me all the time, how can I make my legs pop? How you make your legs pop, how you make your glutes look amazing, how you make your hamstrings look amazing, unfortunately, is just low body fat. That really is all it is. We tend to store our body fat in that area, and your thighs and your hamstrings and your glutes and your quads and your stomach is covered with a layer of fat. Your upper body is not covered with a layer of fat. You probably is at some point, but you always lose fat from the top down because of your hormones. Your body does not want to get rid of the metabolically active fat stores in that area, because as women, biologically, we give birth, we breastfeed. This metabolically active fat tissue can produce hormones, right? It produces estrone, which is a weaker form of estrogen. Your body does not want to get rid of anything that produces estrone, or estrogen. So it will hold on to that fat store for dear life. And you have to work very, very hard over a very long period of time to get rid of it. Now, some women are blessed with these shredded legs. If you're a real ectomorph, you're going to, or is it an endomorph? I think it's an endomorph. Can't remember the body types, but whatever it is, you are going to, you probably don't have a lot of fat over your body anyway, so it's going to be easier. But honestly, the one thing that I have found is time, consistency, and losing body fat. And at the minute, I am very lean. I put on quite a few pounds last week in France, which was amazing. I never care if I put on body fat because I know I'll just lose it again like that. You can too. But you have to get down to low percentages of body fat in order to get the fat off your legs. There's really no other way. How do you get down to low percentages of body fat? You have to focus on building muscle over your entire body for a long period of time. Your body doesn't want to get rid of the fat. It doesn't want to. But when you raise your metabolism through building muscle and you reduce the body fat over time, and you have to do a pretty intense shred for a pretty intense period of time to get down to those low body fat percentages. You know, my calories during the week at the minute, because I'm so busy, are just very, very low. I have to be honest. Like, I'm probably, you know, there's probably some days during the week I'm eating like 1,400 calories. I'm not even kidding. Maybe some days even 1,200 calories. Not consistently, but certainly I'm probably not going over 1,600 to 1,800 calories per day. And I would say there's a lot of days I'm lower than that. I eat more on the weekend, but my calories are pretty low at the minute, and my exercise output is pretty high. So that's why my body has managed to get shredded. And I'm telling you this because you know, a lot of people are like, oh, but Kim, it's not sustainable to eat 12 or 1,400 calories. Like, that's far too low. And it triggers women. They get like, I've been told I need to eat in order to build muscle. You really don't, as long as you have enough, right? I mean, you're not wanting to stand on stage in the largest bodybuilding category. You just want to have enough muscle that you look lean and toned. And what builds muscle is lifting heavy weights consistently, not even heavy, but just lifting to failure consistently, eating enough food to fuel your lifts and fuel your life. But unfortunately, we have this thing programmed into us that we need to eat and eat and eat and eat. And I see all these men mansplaining these. Do you know who's really annoying me at the minute doing it? I was saying annoying me. It's not annoying me, but I'm like, oh, this is such bad information. The Mind Pump podcast. And I love Sal is a good friend of mine. And I had Sal on the podcast, Sal Stefano, who is one of the founders of the Mind Pump podcast. I had him on my podcast a couple of years ago. But they seem to have launched this program at the minute called like the Mommy Makeover, which I fucking hate the name of. But anyway, or some kind of mommy program anyway, program for women. So a bunch of men have created a program for women. Now, I'm not saying men cannot create programs for women. However, their advice is all women just need to eat more and lift heavier. And I'm sorry, but that advice is actually not relevant. It's really not relevant. Women do not need to eat more. A lot of women are overweight. And the reason why women are overweight is because they eat too much. That's the only reason. So telling a woman that she needs to eat more to build muscle, she needs to not cut her calories to build muscle, it's all misinformation. Women, if you want to be leaner, you have to reduce your calorie intake. If you want to be very lean, you have to reduce your calorie intake quite drastically for a long period of time. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is the only women that have ever come to me worried that they're not going to build enough muscle or that, you know, they're not eating enough calories, it's never the skinny girls. It's never the thin ones. It's the ones who have quite a lot of weight to lose are always afraid of not eating. And I'm like, well, what does that tell you? You know, you never have a lean girl with, I've never seen a fitness athlete online who's super lean, who has a lot of muscle. I've never heard her consistently stand up and say, women need to eat more, women need to eat more, women need to eat more. And I was guilty of it all these years ago as well. Like, I'm not saying that this is that I haven't been guilty of it, because I did used to eat a lot in order to build muscle, but then I used to shred down to low percentages of body fat to get on stage. And so it was easy to tell women, oh, you need to eat more, because I knew that I was going on an intense, like 16-week shred to lose all the body fat. So it was fine for me to eat in the off season to build muscle. And so I think a lot of times whenever men are telling women they should eat more to build muscle, they're not realizing women are just not lifting heavy enough to justify the extra food that they're eating to build the muscle. And then they're just left with extra body fat. Because women, unless you're standing on stage or you're doing a shred like butt camp or you have a big cash competition coming up, women are just not going to do what it takes to get down to the low percentages of body fat that are necessary to see the muscle that they built while they were eating all the food. They're just not. And how do I know they're not? Because I've been coaching hundreds of thousands of them for years. 10 years I've been coaching women for. So the only way that you can sustainably get down to low percentages of body fat and see the muscles in your legs, see the muscles in your glutes, see the muscles in your thighs, in your hamstrings, is to eat low calories for a long fucking period of time, right? I hate to say it, and I know you're all going to hate me for it, but it's true. You have to eat way below, 20% below your TDEE for a long ass period of time while building muscle and doing cardio, while doing your strength training workouts, doing some kind of cardio and living a healthy lifestyle. You have to eat far more under your TDEE than you would ever think for far longer than you would ever think to get down to low percentages of body fat. So That's the hard truth that no one's telling you because it's not PC, right? All the fitness trainers online are saying, oh, you can't tell people to undereat for a long period of time. Well, yes, I can, especially in menopause. Menopause is so much worse because your body in menopause is your metabolism is slow anyway, and you're fighting against insulin resistance. And so what the research is showing now is that a woman in menopause needs to eat 200 less calories than her TDEE just to maintain her current body size. So if you could eat 1,800 calories in the past and maintain your physique, once you hit menopause, because of insulin resistance, because of your body changes how it utilizes the calories, now you have to eat 200 less calories per day to maintain the same body shape. How many times have we heard? God, I'm on a rant now, aren't I? How many times have we heard, I haven't changed a single thing, but yet I've put on weight? And women think they've done something wrong. I haven't changed anything. I haven't changed my diet. I haven't changed my exercise. I haven't changed anything, but I'm fatter. That's because the 200 calorie, your body is processing 200 less calories per day on average. That's what they think it is, around 200. That's why you're putting on body fat, because you're overeating 200 calories a day by just doing what you always did. So the horrifying truth is that if you want to get any kind of results, you have to eat about 400 calories under your normal calorie intake for a sustainably long ass period of time to get lean. And that, honest to God, is the only way I have found to do it. That's why I'm super lean at the minute, because I just decided I'm not competing anymore. I don't want to be chunky anymore. I don't want to be big anymore. Women like the body that I have now. And I run a fitness company and I need women to want to look like me because then they'll buy my programs, right? Otherwise, they're not, and for a long time, women looked at me and they respected how I looked, but they didn't want to look like me. And I'm told this every single day. Women are saying to me every single day, your physique now is my favorite version of you. And I've been following you since 2018, 2019. This version is my favorite version. You look amazing. I want to look like you. But I didn't get a lot of women before telling me they wanted to look like me. They respected how I looked, but they didn't want to look like me. And so this physique that I have now was obtained by eating very little calories at the minute, not very little, but way below what I would have eaten before, and doing a shit ton of exercise. 30 minutes, or 40 minutes dumbbell workouts every day where my heart rate is raised because the dumbbell workouts are far more metabolically active than the gym training. So I'm doing a combined kind of cardio and dumbbell workout 5 days a week. I'm eating far, far less calories than I used to eat. I'm probably eating, I would say, on average, I'm probably eating 800 less calories per day than I would have eaten a year ago. I'm not even kidding. 800. And I started this diet in January. I decided in January that I was going to get lean. And I started on 1,600 calories. I started counting my calories in January. Everyone, who loves to hate on me is like, it's since she started Ozempic, she got really thin. I'm like, well, no, it's not. I actually started dieting in January. And I had my chef prepare food on a 1,600 calorie diet. And I stayed on the 1,600 calories right up until March, up until April. And then in March, I did the Sculpt program, which was a 30-minute workout every day and a 30-minute cardio every day. I was doing 2 workouts a day, 5 days a week. And that's when the fat loss accelerated. Once I was on the 1,600 calories and I added in those 2 sessions, the fat just dropped off me. Then I started the GLP-1s at the end of April, start of May, and continued to eat a low-calorie diet, continued to count for a long period of time. So I was still eating 1,600. Then I stopped counting. And I know there's a lot of days now when I really do not get enough food intake. Like I skip lunch a lot because I just don't, or I'll have like a vegan yogurt or something for lunch, or just a protein shake, which is like 120 calories. And that's lunch because I just don't have the time anymore to eat the way I used to. So I know this has gone on a very long rant and I apologize for it, but I do think it's necessary because I don't want to lie to you guys. I don't want to ever pretend that I'm doing something different than I am. I'm eating very few calories at the minute. I'm exercising a shit ton. I have a lot of work. I have a lot of stress in my life. I'm busy and I'm active, and that's why I'm lean. There's no mystical there's nothing mystical about it. It's low calories, a lot of exercise since January. This is now October. So I've been eating and training this way for 10 months. And that's why I'm lean, nearly 11 months actually. And that's why I'm super lean. So how do you get shredded legs, Carolyn? That's how. You have to be committed to being hungry for a long period of time, being hungry and tired. In fact, you just need to be hungry and tired for the rest of your life. Or you can decide that it's not worth it. And that's totally an option as well. But I'm not going to lie to you about what it takes. That's what it takes. Okay. Oh God, that was a long answer. I apologize. Okay. Shazanaz El Taruti. I love your name so much. I'm still doing the 5-day intermediate body sculpt. Question: at what point should I move to the advanced body sculpt? No, do it now. You've been around for a long time. Also, I frequently feel I can add more sets to an assigned number of sets with the same or heavier weights. Is that still okay? So rather than adding more sets, I would tend to go heavier on weight. So why would you add more time? If you have extra weight at home and you can make them harder by doing, extra load, you always want to choose load if you can. Load is king. So rather than, adding an extra set is fine. If you're like, well, I don't have any extra dumbbells, then that's totally okay. You don't have to, you then definitely add more volume. The other thing you can do is take less rest. So depending on, what the rest periods are, I think in the sculpt, they are only 30 seconds. But if you felt like you could just, take like a quick 10-second rest and then go straight into the next set, that's another way that you can overload the muscles. Don't forget, progressive overload happens in 3 ways. 4 ways actually, but you can add more load, you can add more volume, or you can add less rest. And then of course you can, do like drop sets and pause sets and all that kind of stuff. But those are the 3 main ways you overload the muscle. So if you can't add more load, then yes, definitely adding more volume. Or you can add more volume and less rest. That's another way you can do it. Or just add less rest to the volume and the weight that you have. If you combine all of those, you're going to maximally overload the muscle. You're going to make it grow. You're going to stimulate it. And that's what's going to cause good muscle growth. But I definitely think you're ready to move to the advanced training now for sure. Oh, sorry. You know what? I think you're doing the gym workout because you're saying the intermediate body sculpt. I'm not sure if you're doing the home workout or the gym workout, but regardless, try add more weight first is what I would say. If you can't, then definitely add more volume, because if you ever leave the gym or the training room feeling like you could have done more, then you definitely should do more next time. Carrie Hill, I've been a part of this amazing community for about 2 years. Oh, Carrie, we love you. The support and honesty has been key to my weight loss. Well, hopefully, Carrie, you enjoyed that little bit of honesty I just hit you up with there a few minutes ago. Question: how do you stay motivated and keep away from the scales? Your honesty and humor really help me to see things the way they are and not what the Instagram and YouTube ads want me to feel. Okay, this is like totally what I was just talking about a minute ago. So hopefully that helped, Carrie. How do you stay motivated and keep away from the scales? By knowing what you want to look like and aiming for that. I think, like someone said to me the other day, what do you weigh now? I said, I have no idea. I don't even have scales in my bathroom. I think I have scales. We keep them in a cupboard at home, and the cupboard isn't even in the bathroom. I think it's on the upstairs landing. We have like slide robes, and I think the scales are in there. I'm not even interested in what I weigh. I genuinely find it very hard to try on why people are obsessed with weighing themselves. I really genuinely find it I can try it on and I can understand it, but it makes me like, I'm just like, it's astonishing to me how people can get obsessed with the scales. And I'll tell you why. God, I'm definitely feisty today. So I want to look a certain way. I want to look in the mirror and I know what I want to look like. I know what I want my legs to look like. I know what I want my glutes to look like. I know I want my stomach to be flat and toned with lines on it. I know that I want my shoulders to have shoulder caps. I know I want my back to look muscular. I know what I want to look like. When I walk in a bikini, I want my glutes to be firm, have a little bit of a jiggle because that's nice, but be firm and full and smooth. I want my thighs to be smooth. I know what I want to look like. So because I have a very clear picture in my head of what I want to look like, the scale is completely irrelevant to that goal. It tells me nothing. If I stand on the scale and it says that I'm 2 kilograms lighter than I was the last time I stood on the scale, or 4 pounds lighter, but I look in the mirror and I hate what I see, or I'm not happy with what I see, what has the scale got to do with that? So I think the way you get over your addiction to the scale is, first of all, throw them out. Don't have them in the house. That's like saying, oh my God, Kim, how do I stop eating chocolate? Stop buying it. If it's not there, you can't eat it. So whenever people say, how do I keep away from the scales? Well, don't have them in your house, and then you can't weigh yourself. Like, it's very, and again, this is something that gets me all fired up, because women are like, I just want to give up my scale obsession. And I'm like, well, throw them out then. They're like, oh, what do you mean throw them out? Like, it's like asking a drug addict to give up their drugs. They're like, I really want to give up drugs. I really want to give up smoking. Okay, great. Give me your cigarettes. Oh no, but what if I want a cigarette? Well, then you don't really want to give up cigarettes. You want to give up cigarettes. You're like, I want to give up cigarettes enough to not smoke. And I want it is a very real thing, but it's not, you don't actually want it. You want it, but you don't want it. So if anyone here who's like, I would love to give up the scales, here's a really, really kick-ass, easy way you can do it. Lift those bad boys and throw them in the fucking bin. Smash them if you have to, because otherwise it'd be like a cake addict. Well, you go back to the bin and eat the cake out of the bin, right? Seen people do that before. Not me. I've never done that. I've never, ever taken a piece of chocolate out of the bin after I've thrown it in there. Nope. But I've seen other people do it. No one on this call, of course. Anyway, scales, right? You can't say, well, I'll just put them in the cupboard, but not in the bathroom. You're like, no. Well, then you're still, it's like saying, I'll stop smoking, but I'll just keep a packet of cigarettes in the house just in case. You're giving yourself a way to have them, right? Same with the scale. You want to break up with the scale, take the scale out of the house, throw it in the bin. And if your family are like, oh, but we want to weigh ourselves, be like, tough shit. Mama's got an addiction and you need to, the scale needs to go. So that's the first thing you do. Second thing is set a body goal. Please decide what you want to look like. Even if you're not even there yet, even if you're not even close, even if you think your body goal really isn't that obtainable, doesn't matter. Find a picture of someone you want to look like, slap it on your fridge, put it on your screensaver, and then take photos of yourself regularly in the same pose as this person and put them side by side. I used to do that all the time. I used to take a picture of a bikini athletes that I wanted to look like, and then I used to stand in the same pose, and then I used to put the two of them in layout and put the two pictures side by side, and then compare how far am I away from this body, and then work towards that body. And then every time you look in the mirror, every time you take pictures, you'll decide, are you close or are you far away? That's how you stay motivated. So the other day, it's funny, I was actually feeling a bit like, oh God, I can't be bothered to do these Buns and Guns workouts. Like, I enjoy training. I really enjoy training. But whenever you have to record all the time, like, it's a lot of energy. I'm like, hey team, how you doing? Like, you have to be like sparky. It's not like you can just like crawl in there in your pajamas and turn on the screen and just follow along. You don't have to think. I have to plan, think, be happy, sparky, it takes a lot more energy to teach than it does to just follow along. And so quite often I'm just like, oh, cannot be arsed to do it. And I was really like having a little internal suffer about having to start recording the workouts. And then I saw a picture of my butt on vacation. It was like, I'd set up the camera to, I didn't even try and video myself walking away from the camera. I actually had just videoed myself. I wanted to video myself going into the sea, because I thought if I do it, going into the sea, then, that'll be a nice wee video or whatever. I can do it for my blog that I do online, my video blog. And then whenever I looked back at the footage, I was like, oh my God, is that my ass? Like, I was absolutely astonished. And I'm going to show you a picture of it. I'm like, look at that back view. For those of you who can look, I was like, that is my ass. I was like, and then I went back and I got a video from last year, and it was like, oh my God, look at the difference. Like, those were my glutes last year. And then I took them, and then I took a picture and then I put them side by side. And I was like, look at the difference in my glutes. Look at how much tighter, higher, fuller they are now after doing butt camp. And that was so motivating to me. I was like, I can't wait to go back into the gym. I'm going to do Buns and Guns. And I suddenly was excited for doing Buns and Guns. I was like, okay, 3 days a week. They're going to be really heavy glute days. We're going to do 3 glute days. We're going to be 2 upper body days. I'm going to, and I was really suddenly excited. So seeing the photo of my progress motivated me again to want to get back in and start training. So that's how you stay motivated, like you have to you have do whatever it takes. Like, take pictures of yourself, take pictures of yourself in the mirror, take pictures of yourself from great angles, look at yourself, like, notice the changes. That once you start noticing the changes, that's what keeps you motivated. But you have to have these be like celebrations. Like, another way I can demonstrate it or get you to think about it is, imagine if you had set a goal to save money. Imagine if you had set a goal that you needed to save $10,000. You need to save $10,000 for a deposit for something. Well, what would you do regularly if you needed to save $10,000? Well, you would check your bank balance, wouldn't you? You would check your savings account, and you would go in. You go, how much have I got now? Oh, there's 1,000. Oh, I've got 1,500. Oh, I'm up to 2,000. And then anytime someone gave you money, you'd be like, oh, it's great, and you'd put it in the account. Or anytime you earned money or you made money, you'd put it in. You'd keep checking that account towards your $10,000 goal, and seeing the money pile up there would be motivating for you to earn more, to have more, to do more. It's exactly the same with bodybuilding. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to look at your progress. You have to take videos. You have to take photos. You have to, admire yourself in the mirror. Buy gym leggings that lift and sculpt your butt, right? I love these ones by Bow and T. I don't know whether you can get them in America or not, but they're absolutely amazing. They have like a sling for your butt. So they have like this sling underneath your butt, Bow, B-O, and T-T-E-E. And they are so flattering on your glutes. And so I have them in, like, I bought them in every color recently, because every time I wear them, I'm like, look at my glutes in these leggings. And they make me feel so good whenever I wear them. And whenever I feel good, I want to get back into the gym and have more of that, right? Once I see the progress, see the glutes, see the arms, see the abs. Once you see your abs, you're like, oh, okay, I'm definitely not going to eat that piece of cheesecake, because now I have abs. But you have to see your progress in order to be motivated. And progress is what motivates you. In the beginning, it's hard starting a fitness program because the progress is so slow, especially if you don't have a lot of weight to lose and you're trying to build muscle. It can be so slow and so painful and easy to give up, because you're a beginner in the beginning, and everyone's a beginner when they start something, and it's really tough. The learning curve is steep. But once you start to see progress, that's what keeps you motivated. Right. I can't believe I've been talking for this long and I haven't even got through all the questions. I have nearly got through the questions. So Shazanaz has another one, and she says, at which incline should I set the bench for each of the shoulder press and chest incline press? I'm never certain. 30, 45, or 60, or sometimes in between is the best inclination for optimum results. There is no best incline for optimum results. There is only the incline that works for you. Whenever I do shoulder work, I can't do very upright shoulder presses because I have a slight shoulder impingement and it seems to irritate my shoulders, and then I tend to lift with my traps. So I always have the bench quite far back, just slightly higher than you would have it for a incline chest press. So an incline chest press should be about 45 degrees at about, this angle here. You want to have a shoulder press up just a little bit higher. But don't forget, an incline chest press also works the front delts. So you're also working the delts whenever you're working the chest. Some people would say you should be like completely bolt upright. You shouldn't. If that works for you, that's great. My husband loves to be completely bolt upright in his shoulders, but he also brings the dumbbells down to like touch his shoulders. And I keep saying to him, you're gonna have an injury one day. The dumbbells should never come right down to touch your shoulders. They should only come down to your elbows or slightly lower than parallel. And then you push back up, because if you come all the way down and then push, what you can do is you can nip a nerve or nip a joint, very easily. So you want to come down, to here as much as you can, but don't come all the way down so that they touch your shoulders, because you can injure yourself because you have the shoulder in a hyperextended position. So you don't want to do that. So any position, the position that works for you is the one that is best. Now, Sarah Abel, I know, had a question in EMBM. We've only got a few minutes left, but actually a lot of what we've covered is relevant. And I think she just said, can you please talk about building? So I'm not sure exactly, Sarah, what it was that you wanted to know about building specifically. But one of the things I will finish with to say about building is all that is required to build muscle is to stimulate it beyond what it is currently capable of doing. And yes, food is important, but only enough food to feed the muscle. Whenever you put on body fat, whenever you see a lot of bodybuilders off season get really fat, all that means is they had a calorie surplus. They had calories left over after the muscle had built taken what it needed to build, and after the body had taken what it needed to process everything the body processes, there were excess calories left over to put into fat store. That's all that means. So you don't need to have excess calories. It's just that people who are focused really hard on building muscle want to make sure that they're not leaving anything on the table. They want to make sure they're not sacrificing any gains whatsoever. So they're happy to have a little bit of extra body fat because it means that the muscle is getting adequately fed. None of us here are standing on stage, as far as I know, or aiming towards standing on stage. And also, really, the other thing is a lot of women just aren't training hard enough to justify the extra food. One of the things I always say about building is increase your intensity in your workouts first and then increase your food. Once you increase the intensity of your workouts, you will realize that your appetite will go up because your body will be signaling for more food, and then you can give it a little bit more food. But you shouldn't just go into, oh, I'm bulking, right? People use bulking as an excuse to get fat. So you really don't need to bulk. You just need to eat enough food to feed the muscle, and then you just have to lift to failure. You have to go beyond what your muscles are currently capable of doing. And Sarah, I'm not sure if you ever watch the replays, but I do talk about this a lot, where muscle tissue is basically scar tissue. So all you're doing in the gym is you are ripping apart the muscle fibers, and then your body is building them back like it would scar tissue. So one of the analogies I use is if you were to rub a piece of sandpaper on the palm of your hand. This is one of Dorian Yates' analogies, it's not mine. Rub a piece of sandpaper on the palm of your hand until the palm of your hand went slightly raw, and then let it heal for a week. Your body would put a layer of scar tissue on top of that wound. Then you would rub it again with more sandpaper, and then your body would put another layer of scar tissue on top of that wound. And if you kept doing that every single week, then you would very quickly develop quite a thick layer of skin on the palm of your hand. That's exactly how your body builds muscle. So if you are capable of squatting 120 pounds, and you squat 120 pounds for 10 reps, and the last one is hard, but not like you didn't actually fail. You probably had another 1 or 2 reps. Maybe if someone gave you a bit of a spot, you had one more. If you had a paused, you maybe could have done one more. Then if you do not pause and then do that one more, or pause and get someone to spot you, your body will not build muscle. Your body will keep the muscle that it has because you had enough muscle to squat 120 pounds for 10 reps. If you do not do that extra rep, your body will not give you any extra muscle. Why? Because your body lifted what it was capable of lifting. You had enough muscle to squat 120 pounds for 10 reps. Clearly, because you did it. Okay? It's only when you fail and you think, oh, I can't actually do another rep, and you have to pause, let your muscles catch up a little bit, and then push out one more rep, and then maybe pause. This is better to do whenever you're on a machine, for example. Can you get another messy rep, right? And maybe it takes you 10 seconds to push from the bottom to the top, and then you're like, oh, pause for another 5 seconds. Do I have one more? Or is there someone there to spot you? And you push out one more. That's you going beyond failure. That's you going beyond what your body is currently capable of doing. That is all that is required to build muscle. People get focused on, I need to eat loads of food, and I need to sleep, and I need to rest. I need to do all these things. And I need to have creatine and BCAA. And no, you don't. You just need to train beyond failure. But that's the hard part. And that's why women and men become so focused on food and sleep and BCAAs and muscle building supplements and pre-workouts and creatine and all of these things that are easy to do because they don't want to do the hard work that it actually takes, which is going to the point where you want to give up, or you feel that you're going to die, your muscles are burning, you feel like you cannot possibly do another rep, your mind is screaming at you to stop, but you don't stop, you pause, and then you go again for another rep, and then you go again for another rep. Going beyond failure is very mentally taxing. It's very, very hard to do. And most people just don't have the mental fortitude to do it. That's why the trainings with me are so beneficial for the women. They're telling me who are doing them, because what's happening is they're going to the very edge of their limits, and then I'm like, come on, you can do it. One more, another one, let's go, another 5 seconds. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're going again. They're doing more. So they're doing more than they were ever doing by themselves, which is why they're getting such phenomenal results, because they're finally working to failure and beyond. That is all that is required to build muscle. If you do that and you don't focus on one other thing, you don't focus on your food, you don't count your calories, you don't take creatine, you don't give a shit about how much protein that you're eating. People say to me, "Do you monitor your protein intake?" No. I don't monitor my protein intake. I don't monitor anything at the minute. I just have protein for breakfast, a protein shake at some point during the day. I try to make sure my lunch is protein rich. I don't monitor anything. I don't track it. I just make sure there's protein every meal as much as I can. Some days it might be 90 grams. Some days it might be 180 grams. Who the fuck knows? The only thing that is consistent in my life is my training. My training is the thing that never changes. It never changes. 5 days a week, hard and heavy, to failure as much as I can, or with higher volume and lighter weights, always to failure, always consistent, always 5 days a week. That's the only thing that's never changed. It's why I have so much muscle. Food has come and go. Sleep has come and go. Rest has come and go. Supplements, yes, sometimes I took them, sometimes I didn't. Never taken creatine, well, used 2 years ago. Sometimes I put BCA in my water. I'm into electrolytes at the minute because I can make them myself at home. Not everything else is everything else is all over the place and up and down and whatever. The only thing that remains consistent is my training. And that's the one thing that's the hardest to remain consistent at, but it's the one thing that will get you the best results. And it's the one thing that most people avoid. So there you are. That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this little rant. It's like, you're like, oh, she really did have a break, didn't she, on holiday? She's a wee bit feisty now she's come back. Not sure quite like this Kim. I think I prefer the Kim who was a bit tired and nicer to us all. I'm really sorry I didn't get to the chat today, but I will go back and have a wee look at it. I always do. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you for listening to the replay. I hope you all enjoyed this. I'll give you a few extra minutes because I was away last week. And also that was an important question to answer. But I will see you all again next Tuesday, same time, same place. Be there or be square. I love and appreciate you all so much. And I appreciate you all making the time to show up here today and listen to me babble on. And hopefully you enjoyed it and you're inspired by it. And keep going, keep lifting heavy, keep doing hard things. You got this. All you need to do is keep showing up consistently. And I promise the magic will happen. Not as fast as you would like, but it will happen if you continue to show up. Okay, kissing you all so much. Sending you big hugs and kisses. Thank you. And thank you to Rona for being here last week and for filling in for me. I genuinely appreciate you. I think that you're here today. I can see your lovely picture. I appreciate you filling in and I'll see you all next week. Okay, bye girls. Love you all.